Alright guys, today's video is another video of the best of the rest, basically covering the weekend's action that I haven't already covered. So we'll start off with the North London derby lunchtime kick-off on Saturday. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a very close game. I expected Tottenham to set up the way they did and Arsenal to have a go. You know, they are at home, so yeah, this fixture is one that's always going to be better played at the Emirates rather than Tottenham Stadium, because that way Arsenal, you know, are just going to properly go for it, and Tottenham, they're going to try and play on the counter attack. So it's going to suit more styles. Whereas at Tottenham Stadium, I feel as though Tottenham might go for it a bit more, might leave themselves a bit open, whereas Arsenal might be a bit reserved. So playing at the Emirates probably suits both teams' style of play. Arsenal set up with their usual sort of 2-3-2-3 formation. It's a 4-3-3, but effectively what happens is they have two players in their defence, Ben White and Zinchenko, who are effectively good enough to play in midfield, really. Zinchenko and White sort of tuck in as like inverted wing backs almost alongside Thomas Partey, and then you have Gabriel and William Saliba, you know, just that's their back line, two players really. And then you've got Xhaka and Odegaard trying to push forward and help the front three. And yeah, Arsenal were at it from the first minute, and it was very clear Spurs were just going to try and nick a goal and frustrate Arsenal. Spurs had a couple of opportunities in the first half besides Kane's penalty. And the first one, well, they both probably would have fallen to Richarlison. The first one got nicked off of Richarlison's stride, really. It was a cross from a free kick, and Richarlison probably would have scored if it had been left. And the second one, just a poor pass from Heung-min Son. Son had a shocking game by his standards. He hasn't had a great start to this season. His most recent game against Leicester looked like it might be, oh right, he's back in form now. He scored a hat-trick off the bench. Incredible achievement. But yeah, yesterday he was poor. His final pass was absolutely abysmal and cost Tottenham at times. Arsenal took the lead through Thomas Partey. It was a well-driven strike. That came after just a lot of possession for Arsenal, and Thomas Partey decided to have a go. Usually it ends up in Rosette. Just ask any Arsenal fan, and they'll tell you that. But this time it went top corner. Tottenham didn't respond too badly though. They won a penalty, and in Arsenal's team, I personally think there's very few weaknesses to Arsenal's team, but one of them is occasionally, I think, and he's still very young, as are all of Arsenal's defenders really, Gabriel Magalhaes can occasionally do something very clumsy, like what he did to concede the penalty. He didn't really need to go for that challenge, and yeah, it could have cost them. Kane tucked away the penalty like he always does against Arsenal, like he does mostly against any team. And yeah, Spurs, from then on, they didn't try and take the game to Arsenal for a period of time, try and get in front and then protect it. They just sort of sat back, which I felt was a mistake, because until half-time, Arsenal didn't have many chances, granted. But after half-time, they played a game plan in which you cannot make mistakes. And they made two huge mistakes through Hugo Lloris and Emerson Royal. So the first one is Gabriel Jesus' goal. Lloris has got to do so much better with it. He can't allow it to slip through his hands and Jesus get the tap in and do the Thierry Henry celebration. And the second one, definite red card from Emerson, stupid stamp on the back of Martinelli, didn't need to do it. Martinelli was in his own half, going away from goal, just out of pure frustration, and it was a red card. Studs up on the Achilles, that can be, you know, a very dangerous tackle. And yeah, Arsenal then got the third through Granit Xhaka, and that was purely because Tottenham playing a system which needs 5 defenders, they only have 4, so there was more space for Xhaka to run into, get the shot off and get the third goal, and from then on it was just get a game done and dusted. Spurs aren't coming back from 2 down, especially with 10 men. But yeah, it was a fantastic game to watch. Then in the Saturday evening game, West Ham beat Wolves by 2 goals, 2-0. In a game where West Ham were a lot better than they have been recently, I thought they were a lot more fluid on the ball. There was a lot more movement, and the key to it all, really, if we're being completely honest, was the fact that Scamacca had come in for Mikel Antonio, because as much of a good job as Mikel Antonio can do for West Ham, he isn't he's not a world class forward, or world class striker anyway. He's someone who will just put a shift in for the team, but he doesn't quite have the technical ability that Gianluca Scamacca showed for West Ham yesterday. And the moments in the game which for me demonstrated that the most was actually Scamacca's goal. And not even because it was a superb strike, it was a brilliant taken goal for Scamacca, and what a way to score your first Premier League goal. But it was the hold-up play in the build-up to it, the way he holds the ball up, finds Jarrod Bowen, times his run to perfection, leaves enough space between him and the Wolves defence so that he can take a touch and get a shot off, and what a shot it was. And Jarrod Bowen's goal as well in the second half was just equally as brilliant. It was a tough ball to control. He manages to do so, and then he manages to get a snapshot off when Jose Sarr would have least expected it. So yeah, 2 brilliant goals for West Ham, and yeah, Scamacca 100% made the difference. For Wolves, though, obviously in the past 24 hours they have sacked Bruno Lage, and for me, I still feel that's a little bit harsh, because their biggest problem isn't it's not the manager. I don't think. I think it's the fact that they've got quite a lot of players out. They're having to play one of their best players in his wrong position, similar to what Leicester have been doing recently, with Ndidi playing centre back. They've had to push Ruben Neves into centre back. And don't get me wrong, Neves didn't have a bad game, I didn't think. The 2 West Ham goals, there was very little Wolves could do about him. But you do miss his influence in midfield, so that was a big miss for Wolves. And also the fact that they're missing Jimenez, they're missing Kaladzic, and Diego Costa came off the bench. And when Costa came off the bench, he looked sharp. So that's a massive positive for Wolves. But I think they should have given Lage a couple more games just to see if Diego Costa can start firing, and then they can pick up some points. Because Goncalo Guedes, he's not really an out-and-out striker. Podence and Neto, as good as they are, they can be very wasteful. Same with Adama Traore. Hwang Hee-chan has shown at times he has goal-scoring ability, but he's not consistent enough. So they've got a lot of talented wingers, but they haven't got anyone who is going to put the ball in the back of the net on a consistent basis. I think Daniel Podence is the only one of their forward players who's actually scored a goal this season. I think he scored 2, but they've got so many players who are wasteful with chances, and that's what cost Wolves yesterday and in many of their other games this season. But their defence is still pretty good, even without Nathan Collins not being there. He's been quite good. He obviously made a stupid decision in that Man City game to get himself sent off. But it's a well-constructed defence. They just need that one, it's like what West Ham showed. As soon as you put that target man up there, that player who can bring the wingers into play and create himself chances by getting himself in good positions once he's given the ball out wide to the wingers, then they can score goals. But Wolves right now just haven't got that player, or unless Diego Costa can come in and be that man. But for West Ham, it looks as though they've turned a leaf. It was a very positive performance for them yesterday. They defended quite well as well, because although Wolves aren't the best goal scorers, they do create chances. But they're just so wasteful with them. West Ham didn't really allow them to create chances yesterday. Most of Wolves' efforts were speculative and just long shots in general. But yeah, brilliant performance by West Ham. And then the final game I wanted to cover was Aston Villa going away to Leeds for the late kick-off on Sunday. after the Manchester derby, which was an absolute thriller. Um, it's a game that Aston Villa will look back on and feel as though they absolutely had to get 3 points in, because you cannot waste the amount of opportunities that they did, because Ollie Watkins, right, is a very good forward. I like him. But the one thing he isn't is clinical. He is far too wasteful of chances. If you could just take the finishing ability of Danny Ings and add it to Ollie Watkins, you have a very, very good centre forward. Watkins has the brilliant hold-up play, but he just doesn't have the ability to score loads of goals. Like, at most he'll get you 10 a season, and that's the problem. And it was a game which never really got going in terms of chances, like end to end in the first half. It was just far too stop-starty, with the amount of just heavy challenges and yellow cards being handed out by the referee. So yeah, there's obviously a bit of needle between these two teams from what happened, how long ago was it now? 2019, so 3 years ago. And yeah, the Leeds fans let Tyrone Mings know what they think of him. But yeah, the red card for Sinisterra, it was deserved. It was stupid. I mean, you could argue the yellow card in the first half was maybe a little bit harsh, but the second yellow card, it is stupidity. Once you're on a yellow, you can't do that. It's ridiculous, really. And he could have cost his team. He was lucky that Leeds managed to put in a really good defensive display to hold on to a point at home to Villa. And yeah, Villa, they started to create more chances towards the end of the game. Watkins just had to score a couple, really. The best chance came from Coutinho nearly scoring an absolutely belting goal, volley whilst he was almost falling over. Comes off the post. Watkins has got to get the rebound, and on top of that, he had a couple of not easy one-on-ones, but scoreable one-on-ones. Meslier did well on both occasions to close him down, in fairness, but he still had to do more. And yeah, Villa absolutely had to win this game. It is a winnable game. And they did create more chances towards the end of the game. Villa, they need to start Buendia, because whenever I watch Buendia come off the bench, he looks lively. He looks like he wants to take the game by the scruff of the neck. But it just needs a change of formation, because it's almost, I feel, as though it's a bit conservative, their midfield, playing McGinn, Louise and Ramsey. Okay, Ramsey gets forward and helps with the attack, but you need a forward, and they need a free attack-minded players behind that forward, I feel, Villa. Now, Liam Bailey's been in good form. He probably deserves a starting spot. And then the other two places are probably between Ramsey, Coutinho and Buendia. For me, Buendia needs to start. So I would probably, if I was Stephen Gerrard, consider dropping either Ramsey or Coutinho. Because at the moment, neither are in great form. Ramsey's not been too bad. Maybe Coutinho's the one to drop, because he's just not in good enough form at the moment. But yeah, they were missing a few players as well. I think it's important to point out for Villa that they were missing Digne and Cash as the two fullbacks. They've obviously got the injury problems of two of their new summer signings in Kamara and Diego Carlos, both long term, I believe. So that they need to find a way around that. Leeds, they brought Bamford on towards the end of the game, and he came on, looked sharp. It's the first time I've seen him play in quite a while. He had a very injury-hit season last year, and only scored 1 or 2 goals across the entire season, I think. But yeah, it's a positive result for Leeds, considering what happened during the game, and another point on the board for both teams. But yeah, Villa will definitely feel disappointed. But thanks for watching this video, and I will see you next time.